Welcome to the OC. I'm Phil, and this is my co-host Corey, and tonight we are talking about Wendigos and Skinwalkers, bitches. It was pretty interesting. I mean,
anytime you deal with myths and legends, right? And that's honestly what a lot of this is. Now, the cool part is they do link it into cryptozoology, right?
Yes.
Which I don't know if that helps its case or not.
I don't know. I mean, let's start with Wendigos.
Okay.
Wendigos. I mean, why not? Wendigos are.
What is a Wendigo?
Well, now in the original, Wendigo is more, it's from native culture. It's not the Navajo. Navajo is the Skinwalker culture, or the Skinwalker end of things, right?
It seems like they're the only culture that talks about skinwalkers specifically, and apparently they won't even talk about them if you're not taboo. Yeah. If you're not part of the Navajo, they're not really even going to talk about them to you.
Yeah,
it's just like, the Navajo.
We don't like to talk about that shit. But Wendigo it tends to be in colder climates where you have. So this would be a lot of the Algonquin tribes.
The Algonquin, they talk about what is it? They say the Ojibwe, Cree.
Ojibwe. Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of them, and it's got a lot of different.
Yeah.
Winnebago, I think, is one of the names. I think that's what they named Winnebagos after.
Yeah. The
Wendigo. The Wendigo.
There's tons of names after tribes and what have you, in First Nations. But so you see this, and I thought it was kind of cool because I'm like, I didn't know anything about this. This is my wife. She's like, you should do Wendigos. She's Ojibwe.
How did you not know something about the Wendigo? Like the cultural significance
about it, and
that's you and I read entirely different books, my friend.
You read? Oh my God, good for you.
That was your big complaint about this one, right? You're like,
I'm like, I can't find any reading. I'm looking, there's nothing. There's no YouTube. So I think a lot of it is cultural in terms of like there is some history. And we'll get into that later, but like there was events and what have you. But in a lot of the old scriptures, so the Wendigo was basically a very, it's described as being very big.
I know, and it's also described as being a malevolent spirit.
Yes.
That sometimes takes a physical form or possesses humans. So there's inconsistency in the stories, right? Where how a Wendigo comes to be. Like, do a mama and daddy Wendigo who love each other very much, and that never shows up.
Then they make more Wendigo. I don't know me, but
so a French Canadian accent. It's like some of the stories that are coming up.
I have seen this Wendigo you were talking about.
Wendigos parked side by each.
Yeah.
Hey, am I flicking in and out, by the way, with my?
No, you look great.
You sure? Because it looks like on my side.
Amazing, by the way.
It looks like I'm flickering in and out with my white balance. No. I am not. Then great.
No.
Yay.
Yay, you. Yeah. No.
But I digress. Fine. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah. Ordered Chaos brought to you by Olive Oil. Twice a day.
Put the night cream on, babies. Yes. Look beautiful.
You too can look as young as we do.
It also helps having a low-res camera.
That's also true. Yeah.
Which I don't have. I have a 4K camera. Screw you all. The Logitech Brio, good camera, worth every penny.
It is a good camera.
Sucks though.
Yeah. Wow. Your what now sucks?
The mic on the camera. The mic on this is good.
No,
the mic on the cameras.
These guys are these are the shit. I mean,
not
as
the
far
good
as
shit.
Not the good shit. That's right. So the tale goes back. And it begins with a lost hunter. That's kind of where I got the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
So it was a brutally cold winter. Intense hunger drove him to cannibalism. So the Wendigo revolves around cannibalism. So that seems to be with the seed of like, hey, I got hungry. I ate some people.
Yep.
And now I become a Wendigo.
And it mixes up between you killed people and ate people.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just simply ate people.
Or you simply ate people. Yeah.
Right.
Either way, not good.
Either way, not
Either
good.
way, like in these cultures, which, you have to kind of look at, I mean, there is no doubt that, I mean, you look at living off the land. I mean, that's a hard life. Like,
particularly in Canada back in the day.
Yeah. Like I watched this show called Alone. I don't know if you've seen it. It's pretty cool. It's a great show.
It's like that other one, Naked and Afraid, except they have clothes and they're
they're allowed a certain amount of items. Yeah. And they have to basically, and they typically will go into a boreal forest, like, Canadian, like right now they're in, I believe it's like northern Alberta. They're in a fucking horrible place. Terrible. And they have to survive. And then, like these people are like giving up. And they've got fire. They've got ability to hunt. They've got all these things. But you know what? It still fucking sucks. And they quit. They don't last usually more than 90 days.
It's called subsistence living is what it is.
Even
if you're the hardest core survivalist, you have to be some kind of masochist. I just did camping on the weekend.
What?
In a tent? Yeah,
what?
I was up Murphy's Point. Great. If you ever get a chance, go to Murphy's Point. It's up near Perth.
Okay.
We had
in a tent?
Yes, and it
like on the ground?
Yes, on the ground. Yes, exactly. Right. I was there. Let's just say Sunday when I got home, I was like, everything hurts. Everything hurts.
Yeah.
I ate, but still everything hurts.
Yeah, no.
Hurts. And we had a comfort station even. So there were hot showers, but I was like,
what?
Yeah, no, it was.
You had toilets.
We had we had the blue nukes, and we had actual flushable toilets.
Nice.
Like there was quasi comforts, but I was like, yeah, I'm here. I mean, I brought food, but I'm sleeping in a tent, so I'm not sleeping well, even with my little cot, and just crunching down. Yeah. Anyway, it sucks.
Yeah, and here we
are.
Good
way to prove how tough you are, though.
Yeah. So now
not what you do. Glamping.
I very much glamp. I have air conditioning. I don't mess around. Central air is perfect. Anyway, back to our story.
Back to our story. This hunter cannibalized people.
Yeah, but I mean, their very existence is like, it's fucking rough, man. Like, you're not, just going out to the grocery store. I mean, you're fucking I would say probably 70% of what they did would be like gathering, of things.
It's hunting and gathering, right? So
yeah,
and you're looking at the concept of they weren't agrarian cultures with what we saw in Europe. The whole idea of domesticating animals, the whole idea of farming. I mean, not that they did some of that.
Harvesting with, certain things. There was rice and corn, or certain, depending on where they're natural.
You were,
yeah. And they were nomadic too. They had to move to certain areas, right?
They'd usually follow the food, right? So you would have herds of whatever, put your poison, buffalo, deer, and they would move, and you would end the seasons. So you would try and move from the really shitastic northern Ontario
if you could, months,
if you could,
and that wasn't really the case for the Robertson Huron Treaty area. Like that whole area was their natural hunting grounds, and I mean, they were there all winter. Like, these are people that are just, and I don't think people understand what a northern winter could be like. We do. You and I, we know what northern winters can be. And I surely the fuck would not want to be outside living in a teepee.
We did in Scouts. You and I both camped in winter.
We did winter camps. Yeah.
How dumb was that?
Thank you,
dumb. Jim. Thank you for toughening us up and almost killing us.
We volunteered.
Okay. Yeah, we were paying. I think we were paying literally.
And I don't think Jim stayed. I really don't believe that Jim
he had his tent set up, and I think he probably put on a light inside, so we'd think he was there.
Jim was at the holiday. Just chilling.
That's why he made us camp on his backyard, so he can go up to the house and say, I'm going to go sneak off in the middle of the night.
Jim, you look so refreshed.
It's like you slept perfectly, Jim.
Yeah. Oh,
you're watching this, Jim.
Yeah. We love you, Jim, but we know. God damn it. But yeah, so, the chances of people dying and the temptation of going, humans are a meat sack. Why don't we see what happens?
And if you've ever been really hungry, and I've had not necessarily crazy hunger pains, but I know I've gone sometimes when I've done my intermittent fasting a little bit too long. At one point, you're like, I am really, and it's like 22 hours. Okay.
Right.
This shows how soft we are, right?
Oh God. Now try 22 days.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's right. When you're literally, your body has feasted upon itself, eating its own muscle mass.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem is that, like, I think at some point the human mind goes, we're an animal, and that's a body, and survival,
traditionally a taboo, isn't it?
I would think so. Yeah.
Traditionally, all culture, okay, maybe not all cultures. There are some that have less taboo about it, right? So this is usually, I think there's a couple, I want to say in Africa, and this is why we have Ebola outbreaks at times, is the way they handle bodies and some of the funerary rites. So they're not eating it necessarily because of, oh man, we're hungry. But it's more like, hey, this is how the person stays within the tribe. And I think now,
oh, they eat them. Oh fuck, or parts of them.
Or parts of them. I don't think they eat the whole body, but by the way, folks, humans are very, very not good to eat. Full stop. We are full of all sorts of junk.
Oh, can you imagine? Like, look at what we eat as people.
Imagine a hot dog lying on the ground in the sun for 4 weeks that's been pissed on by a dog. That's what you're eating when you eat a human.
That's probably better than eating people. Imagine the amount of mercury in my body alone. So
and
much.
Fire retardant, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently that's something we've all been exposed horribly to.
Yeah. I don't think, but we are the other white meat.
We are the other white meat. So cannibalism, bad. Very bad, folks. The Wendigo, what exactly are some of the depictions of the Wendigo, Phil, that you've heard of? Because I interrupted your part when you were talking about.
Well, I have a description here. So this is by a native author. His name was Basil H. Johnston, and he wrote a book, and it was called The Manitous. And so he describes it as the following. Let me read this little excerpt. So the Wendigo was gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones. With its bones pushing out over its skin, its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into the sockets. Sorry, I have to get a little dramatic. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody. Unclean and suffering from suppurations of flesh, the Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption.
Bum, bum, bum. And they were usually huge too, right? Like these were not. Nobody's ever
fucking
said a Wendigo
big.
is massive. Yeah, like I've heard.
But they're skinny,
12 to
like they're gangly,
spindly, right? Like
they're spindly. Like remember, like that guy in high school, wasn't Mike Ubley? Spindly arms. Remember
Mike Ubley was a Wendigo. We figured it out. He was a Wendigo.
That fucking guy was a Wendigo for sure.
And they associate the whole insatiable hunger and greed, right? So it's fascinating when you look at some of the concepts around the Wendigo. You've got the taboo of don't eat people, because apparently that's one of the ways you can become a Wendigo. It's a
hard way to promote the species if you're eating each other.
Correct.
Right.
But they've also associated the insatiable greed, right? That idea that if somebody is naturally greedy, maybe you didn't eat human flesh, maybe you're just really covetous and greedy. Well, you could be a Wendigo.
That's a good one. Like to covet something. Yeah. Apparently though, like, so you're looking at the Great Lake areas, you're looking at all these different little spots, but in northern Ontario, northern areas of
there's like a band almost across where it's, again, as you pointed out, it's a cold climate myth and legend. Not that there aren't similar ones
south,
but the Wendigo itself is predominantly, like they even talked at one point, had a heart of ice.
Heart of ice, yeah.
Right. Actually, that's something they said. Heart of ice. They gave him antlers at one point.
So the antlers were not traditional.
That was added by Europeans, wasn't it?
It was sort of added by Europeans and popular fiction, and so like the head of a deer, like it was so that's not typical of the Wendigo storytelling of the I read that. So there was a town called Rossau in northern Minnesota. So in this town apparently these were legit non-indigenous peoples.
Okay.
Had tons of sightings between the 1800s and 1920s. And it was reported, like, usually when they saw one, a death was reported.
Okay.
And so it was pretty interesting stuff. And I read through that quite a bit. But I mean, other than that, the sightings seem to kind of dissipate. Like there hasn't been sightings for many, many years. So I don't know.
Well, so funny enough, you know what they've linked Wendigo to?
Bigfoot.
Another large, ungainly animal walking around the woods.
Yeah. And I have a hard time with that. I mean, I wonder if Wendigo was more of a, like a wise tale to prevent people from doing certain things. But then we
this is it. Once we start dealing with the whole concept of taboos, the whole concept of, hey, we want to make sure people do not engage in said behavior. And we want to have this punishment or this thing or this reason for why you shouldn't be doing this.
Right. Or it's an explanation. Which is kind of frightening, but there were some accounts. Maybe you can take us through.
Well, when you say some accounts, so apparently I did not know until I did this research. So I did learn something, a thing called Wendigo psychosis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a real thing.
Apparently it's a real thing. Now, I don't know if it's actually in the DSM-V5 or whatever it is, but it is a real thing. And it's essentially a desire for eating human flesh and this feeling of and there's been cases of it. So one of the biggest cases actually, and it ranks up with, he's actually classed as a serial killer, believe it or not, or sorry, mass murderer.
So, okay. You want to do him first?
I think he's the interesting one.
He is. Well, we'll do the other guy after.
Hey, the other guy is cool. Like the other one.
Well, it's the other one. These killers are so cool.
Okay, this fellow named Swift Runner.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh no, Swift Runner wasn't the. Well, he was.
He was. He's actually classed as a mass murderer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Carry on then. That's what I was going to do. So that's
you were going to do Swift Runner. Or you're going to do somebody else.
I'll do the other guy.
Okay. The cool. Okay. You get the cool one. I get.
I'll do Swift Runner.
You're gonna do Swift Runner? Okay.
Yeah, because you know more about.
I like the other one's cooler. The other one's cooler than Swift Runner.
He is a little cooler.
A little cool. Yeah, a little. Okay. Yeah.
Dude that did some weird shit. Anyway, so we've got this fella, and he's 1878. He's from Alberta, and basically he's a guide. His job is to be a guide for the RCMP. He helps out doing all sorts of things. Works as a fur trader for the Hudson Bay Company, which basically
liked to drink at one point. Started to develop a taste for the drink at one point.
He certainly did. And I mean, as you know, this is a bad time to be an indigenous person. I mean, like Hudson Bay Company is not a good representation of what companies should be in terms of, they took advantage of the.
Not a great place to shop either, by the way. Their prices are way too crazy.
Do they even exist?
Are they still do. I know they've closed a bunch, but apparently they still exist.
Weird. Yeah. So he was a father of 6 children, had a wife, and basically during the winter of 1878 to 79, they're not exactly sure when in there, the family was starving, and a lot of the locals were also starving. So this was a real bad winter. And apparently, as the story goes, they could have perhaps walked to a Hudson Bay, local Hudson Bay Company 25 miles away or so to get food. That's what we're hearing. But in those times, nobody helped the indigenous people, especially white people. This was not going to happen. They knew that.
This fellow had burned an awful lot of bridges. He was known as an angry drunk. He got booted off the police force. Like he had some problems. He had some problems, and he certainly wasn't the likable type of fellow.
No. So
people would want to help.
What they believed was that he succumbed to Wendigo psychosis, and that's what you had brought up. So it's basically like the body being pushed to the point of starvation, and then the mind doesn't actually, it no longer has reasonable control over what he's going to do. So his son had died first, and I think that's what set him off the rails, right? His oldest son had died of starvation, and then he figured, I'm going to watch all the rest of my family die.
Yeah, because he brought his mother-in-law and his wife's brother or sister or somebody. Like he brought a couple people into the woods with him.
I only read about he killed the family, and then was executed in Fort Saskatchewan. I mean, he
had lumbered out. He actually lumbered out.
Oh, did he? Well, he survived. Yeah. He had lots.
Oh, yeah, he had come out. He went to a Jesuit missionary and said, or I believe it was a mission, and said, "Oh, hey, my family, they starved to death," and they're like, "You look awfully well fed for somebody whose family starved to death."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they
investigated.
Yeah. So yeah, and the Jesuits, though, there was an incident about the Jesuits, but that was like 1661. But anyway, carry on.
The missionaries were all over the place. In this case, with Swift Runner.
Yeah.
This was the first that he was posthumously dying, like several decades later, diagnosed with Wendigo psychosis.
Yeah, I mean, and what kind of, they shot him in fucking Saskatchewan. I mean, it's hard to ask a guy questions when you just take him and fucking shoot him out back to figure out anything more. But back then, I mean, they're not thinking about psychosis and whatever. I mean, it's not.
And what are they going to do? Set him up with
you're
in Canada at this point.
Well,
we've got we don't have food for the people who work, and much less for you, Mr. Well, I guess we have food for you because you could go eat people.
Yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, I mean, but your guy, what was his name? Oh,
Jack Fiddler. Also known as he who stands in the southern sky.
Oh, well then.
He's got I'm not even gonna pronounce his Cree name, which is like, I'm gonna try it. Zawano Jizo Gabo.
That is probably the worst Cree.
Yeah, it's not.
We are not going to speak Cree on the. We are apologizing on behalf of all individuals.
I should do
this. Stop it. My wife is like, stop it.
Winnebago.
Yeah. We'll stick to the ones we know.
But, so this fellow, are you familiar with the show Supernatural, Phil?
I am familiar with it, but I don't watch it.
Two brothers go around, kick the ass of Supernatural.
Yeah, it's like a million seasons or something.
Yeah, they recently finished Sam and Dean. This is basically Jack and his brother Joe, okay? Except in this case, they're Wendigo slayers.
Yeah. Okay. Except they're killing people.
So Jack Fiddler was a headsman of his people, was Sucker people of Sandy Lake.
Okay.
And he was known for his power, his healing abilities, and his power to fight evil spirits. And basically, him and his brother would wander around, and not randomly, but they would sort of, I think they had a route or something they would pursue. And they would essentially, in search of people whom they were reputed to have consumed human flesh or were requested by family members who feared that one of their people were turning into a monster.
So this happened. Like people
happened.
Yeah. Well, not just in this instance. They would say it was like the witch hunts of. So I read that there was a big comparison to like, say I didn't fucking like you. And I'll be like, Corey, that son of a bitch ate somebody's fucking foot. I don't know why.
Sure he's a Wendigo. He stinks.
I'm pretty damn certain. Look at him.
Look at how well fed he is. Look
at how well fed that man is. God damn it. And that was a real thing. And then you got in walks fiddlers.
Which again, I don't think necessarily were like, oh man, we're gonna go randomly killing people. No, there was the belief that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, the work.
Culturally, it was acceptable, and that's where they run into problems. Culture runs into our good friends, the RCMP.
Yeah, it's not a good day. Yeah, for that.
They got
how many did they cure?
Resolve? How many hunts did they do? So here's the thing. This is the thing I not laugh about, but everything you hear about the Wendigo is like, so let me get this thing. This thing is 15 feet tall, like an awesome hunter, super fast, super strong. And
sometimes just a spirit. It's not even
it depends on which one you read. So there are some iterations where it is a spirit that possesses people, and then they become. But there's also a thing where it's like, okay, they're also a physical thing, like 15-foot tall thing with claws that moves fast. Right.
Yeah.
17 Wendigos. That's what I've heard 15 to 17 for these two. That's what they claim. That's what they claim to have killed.
Is that people or is that Wendigos?
This is so they say Wendigos, but let's consider the criteria. Suspected to have consumed human flesh.
Fair enough.
So suspected of meaning they're not a 15-foot tall monster running around tearing people's throats out. No.
Yeah, no.
Or worried that one of their friends were turning into one.
Right. I did read that too. Where and I mean, this leaves a lot of room for like no, seriously, I'm not a Wendigo. Fuck. Jerry.
Jerry.
Put the fucking axe down, Jerry.
Exactly, right?
So these two Wendigo, I swear to God.
These Wendigo hunters come into town, right? And I got a picture of them, right?
Do you?
They come into town and you're like, somebody's gonna be dead.
Yeah.
Better give them a Wendigo to kill.
Or something. And now imagine how the indigenous population felt like that area. I mean,
but they believed it, right? It's okay. And again,
and that's true. That's true. So, and that's one of the things is that, when you have cultures, we often will put our take on things, and that's part of usurping another culture. And that's
appropriation. It's called cultural appropriation.
Yeah, sure. And that's right. And you've seen it where whoever comes in and basically has the bigger stick becomes the dominant culture.
Well, this is what happened where the RCMP decided to go up and visit the sucker people.
Oh, okay.
Right. And they're like, wait a second, you two are going around killing Wendigos?
Yeah. You're killing your own people.
You're killing people. So let's just go. Do you have any of these Wendigo they were all going to turn into Wendigos.
That's
specifically right. The one they got nailed with was a murder of a woman that they apparently strangled with rope.
Perfect. Yeah.
Great. She was apparently she was sick. It was more of a euthanization than it was like, it's not like they burst into her house like the Kool-Aid Man and went off and guns blazing. It's like, no, this woman was dying and they were like, well, we think she's going to turn to a Wendigo. And I'd be asking like, wait a second, did she eat a lot of human flesh before she died?
What did she eat?
What did she eat? Who did she eat?
Oh, she ate old Tom over there. Oh no.
So these guys freely admitted it. Joe and Jack freely admitted it. They said, hey, we went and killed a bunch of Wendigos. Like, it's kind of our thing. And I believe it was it, let me just see if it was Joe or Jack. Where is it? So Jack said, I did not know what I was doing was wrong. And if I had known, I would not have done the deed.
I don't think...
Oh, that's Joseph. Sorry, Joseph said that. Jack and Joseph got arrested by the RCMP.
That's right.
Jack escaped, walked out, and then hung himself.
Yeah.
Or was hung.
Yeah, and then back in those days, I mean, well, it's unfortunate, but there was no real trials of...
No, and honestly, if you think there's there's a suspected killer walking around who belongs to a minority that you treat like dirt anyway.
Yeah.
However,
that's the other part of the history that gets skewed, right? Maybe, who knows what exactly happened.
Well, so Jack, the Wendigo Slayer himself, had hung himself. That's the official cause. And Joe died of, he got sick and died.
Like 5 days later or something.
Yeah, he did not.
Coincidentally, he did not make it to trial.
Died from illness before he could hang.
Or be tried. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is how it goes, right? But you don't hear, like, that was one of the only cases I heard of Wendigo hunters. So whether or not it's culturally quiet,
this was 1907. So this was
I know,
like turn of the century. So this wasn't like 1500s. This was current-ish.
Yeah, ish. But yeah, that was a weird story. Like, what the fuck?
But it was cool. It was the idea that these guys, now who else
suited up? Well, then they were shaman too, right? Like they had
at least Jack was a shaman. I don't know. Yeah. They don't say about Joseph's abilities, but they say Jack was a powerful shaman.
Right. Now, and this goes back to religion as a whole. I mean, that's their religion, right? So I believe any religion, regardless, can be dangerous when it doesn't understand what it's doing. And just like the Catholics, with residential schools here.
I think Buddhism is cool. I'm pretty sure
Buddhism is pretty peaceful.
I think they're like, you know what, whatever.
Yeah. So unfortunately, though, like most countries who have an indigenous population, their culture has been vastly, destroyed.
And this is an example with the fiddlers of us coming in and applying our ideas, values, whatever, because we're like, well, we're the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Yeah.
Or sorry, they weren't the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Before somebody corrects me, which they're not going to because nobody watches us.
Hey,
like and subscribe.
It's not true.
Like and subscribe.
The last couple, not so great. Get out there and fucking watch us.
That's right.
God.
Like and subscribe, folks. Like and Northwest Mounted Police. Before they were the Royal Canadian, because we technically, I don't think, had a police force other than the Northwest Mounted Police. But
yeah.
I digress. They had come in and were applying their values to a people that,
of course,
really didn't want to recognize their authority. But it's hard to do that when the guys show up with guns.
But at the same time, I wonder how many people in that group were like, oh, "Fuck, thank God they're gone." You know?
This is true, right? All of a sudden, it's like, hey, now we don't have to worry about the fiddlers coming around, and
you don't want to mess with these guys. Like, they're known to kill people with their bare fucking hands and ropes and God knows what.
They're some kind of badasses, I suspect.
Yeah, I would think so. You see these guys coming, like you said, you're like, oh goddamn.
Better find a Wendigo to kill.
Yeah. Pack it up, Margaret. God damn it. But,
so are you familiar with the variant of the Wendigo? There's one called the one from the Athabascans.
Oh, right. No, but I did read a little bit about that.
I'm gonna name this. It's called the Wee Chug. It's the Wee Chug. Wee Chug.
I will probably put it broken down.
WECHUGE. I don't know if we chug.
Probably, we do not have the dialect capability of recreating. We apologize to all individuals who are watching. Our indigenous language skills are.
That's right. Lacking. You'll wait for the translation.
Yes.
We'll have subtitles at one point. Stop me if this sounds familiar, Phil.
Sure.
The Wee Chug is a man-eating creature or evil spirit.
Yes.
Appearing in legends, it is said to be a person who possessed or overwhelmed by the power of one of the ancient giant spirit animals, related to becoming too strong. These giant animals are crafty, intelligent, powerful, and somehow retain their power despite being transformed into normal-sized animals of the present day. Okay. So that whole idea of the malevolent spirit
jumping into the body, right? of another, like a wolf or something,
whatever, right? It could
transitions us into skinwalkers.
The skinwalkers.
The skinwalkers, yeah. So my reading on skinwalkers was interesting. How about you? Did you find it fun?
I found it fun too, Phil. This is
so this is a Navajo thing.
And FYI, sometimes people use the term Wendigo and Skinwalker synonymously, but they're not the same. They are not the same at all.
No.
Wendigo, either a 15-foot tall, deer-headed monstrosity that needs a sandwich, or an evil spirit. The Skinwalker is
it's a shaman. It's a kind of a man or a woman.
Jack.
Very
Jack
similar.
Fiddler.
Like fucking Jack Fiddler with his 17 heads on his wall. So basically the Skinwalkers they've kind of fight this battle with good and evil, the shamans. Right. So they're and if they lose to the evil spirits, to the evil side of things, they become skinwalkers, which
so they're Sith lords.
They're like evil
they're Sith lords.
Yeah, they got powers.
Yeah, you got Jedi, good Jedi, and Sith lords, basically.
So
because they say the skinwalkers are sort of the the opposite of Navajo cultural values and norms.
Right, they're the bad dudes, and then the good dudes, the good shaman of the Navajo, fight the skinwalkers and they protect the people. Right, so it's you're very much your good versus evil sort of take on things. So they're able to possess bodies. They're able to shift into different forms.
Yeah, what do they call them? This is another one. The
Oh, dude, I can't
Naladoshi, which translates by means of it goes on all fours.
Yeah, so coyote, any kind of creature that's sort of like known as being a bit of a scavenger or evil, like coyote.
But it says the wolf too, which is funny because wolf is one of those one of those animals that mean different things to me. I mean, you look at Eastern Europe, you look at Europeans, the wolf at sometimes is the werewolf, right? It's bad, But then you look at some other things and you're like, no, the wolf is kick-ass, warrior of the wilderness kind of thing.
So there's a lot of speculation from like anthologists and people that were look at history, and that the Europeans started to come over. They also brought a lot of their folklore, right, with them. So you had stories of werewolves, you had stories of what's the other, like the Irish, and they had
the banshee. So you had the banshee, right? You had these evil spirits.
Yeah. So and they start to kind of, because the skinwalkers are relatively, I mean, in the big picture, Wendigos are really, really old in the culture of Native American, Canadian, civilizations, but skinwalkers are fairly new in terms of the Navajo, like from what I understand.
My understanding with it is it may be kind of like Halloween or Christmas, that over time, what was originally just evil shamans.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, now they're shape-shifting. Now they're werewolves.
Yeah. And apparently
or coyotes.
Or
I actually said it. What was it? They could turn into, there was coyotes, werewolf, or coyotes, wolves, crows. Like they apparently
kind of dark animals, like the animals that you kind of attribute to like snakes and things like that. But apparently, if you looked into their eyes, they would have very human eyes.
Okay. I found that with dogs. Do you not find that with dogs? When you're looking at a dog's eye, like if you look in your hound's eyes,
I see hunger. Always hungry.
That's right. The Wendigo.
The hound is like food. I can do calculus for food.
But it's that idea of you see that concept of some sort of intelligence lurking behind those eyes.
They do, and they blink. And you know what? I watched a really interesting show about that, how dogs' behaviors. So if you take a dog that's like been raised like a feral dog, doesn't do any of the shit that a domesticated dog does. They tilt their heads. They do all these weird things, almost like mimicking human beings. So and it's like something they think that we find cute, right? So they do these things on purpose.
Yeah.
Eye blinking, like, and turning their heads and doing all these weird little things.
And the muscles. So I also heard the muscles in their
faces.
They can do things like quasi smile because they know these apes that are walking around.
Look, the big ape thinks that's funny. Well, that's good. He'll give you more food.
Yeah.
But it's a learned behavior. And then animals in the wild, like dogs in the wild, dingoes and, any kind of wolves and they don't fucking have any of that. And they don't bark either. They don't have a barking. They can bark, but they don't typically bark. They yip. I don't know.
I know coyotes. We hear them around here.
They howl or yip, or do they bark?
They yip. So the coyotes yip.
Yeah.
When you hear, I occasionally hear. I want to say I occasionally hear wolf howls. Like I do think there are wolves, not necessarily near my house, but
they can be really far away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You see the coy wolves, the crossbreeds. Again, back to our polar bear, grizzly bear hybrids. Now we got wolf coyote hybrids, which
apparently they're really smart. They're super smart.
And they're also really fucking big too. So they've got the
smart.
size of the wolves and they've got the fearlessness and the intelligence of the coyotes. We're screwed.
Crazy. We're screwed.
They ever hook up with a polar bear, grizzly bear hybrids, we're done.
That's a weird mating ritual.
But we're digressing.
We are, and I do digress. Yeah. So it says here the skinwalker kills out of greed, anger, envy, spite, or revenge.
All the negative emotions covered.
Basically, every serial killer that's ever existed.
The whole reasons why you kill, except they didn't say for fun, I guess.
No. So it says they've been blamed for all kinds. So that was the other thing, is that skinwalkers are blamed for cursing things.
Yep.
And this leads us to Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, for God's sakes. I looked into that, and that's
I know. What a mess.
It sounds like they're on a uranium mine and there's crazy shit going on there.
Yeah.
And Melissa was watching, actually, I think the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch.
I tried. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah, she was watching it. I don't think she ever finished.
Yeah. So the Skinwalker, and I think most people, when I first thought of Skinwalkers, I was, I'll watch the Skinwalker Ranch. Not the same thing. So, but interestingly enough, it did start. So they figured that in the 1990s, it was called the Sherman Ranch. Mm-hmm. And basically, this is a ranch in Utah It's a bazillion miles away from the Navajo. But yeah, so in this ranch, it was alleged that the Navajo put a curse on the Ute, the UTE, I believe it's just Ute tribe. And yeah,
so, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that.
UTE. I'm assuming it's Ute.
It's not even a pronunciation. Ute. Yeah. Jute is like rope, like jute rope.
No, not jute rope. Wrong. You're playing too many video games. God damn it.
Too many video games.
Anyway, the Ute reservation, and it's thought that they put a curse, like the bad shamans, the Skinwalkers, put a curse on this whole area. And then, you know, for years,
you're talking about cattle mutilations, right? They said
cattle mutilations. You've got, you know, this like animals being slaughtered, not just cattle, like, you know, other things. Sightings of large, weird creatures. There was a wolf apparently there that they described as being 3 times the size of a normal wolf
with glowing red eyes or something like
that. But then they shot this fucking thing like a lot. Like if you watch the show, these guys
I've only watched some of it. Yeah, they're armed to the teeth.
Yeah, I only watched some of it too because I'm like, oh, this is hokey.
They've actually gone off and fortified it. So
it's got video cameras everywhere.
Yep, and barbed wire, fences, you name it.
So they shot this wolf like a dozen times. It didn't die, and it fucked off. But that's pretty much it, and the rest of it is like UFO stuff.
Mostly UFOs, because they were talking about they haven't found any radiation, but like one dude developed a rash and sickness.
Oh yeah,
like there's a couple spending any length of time there, so they suspect there's something, and they've tried looking for hot spots with drones, I think. Like, so it really has very little to do with the Skinwalker.
Yeah.
As a Skinwalker, I mean,
other than the fact that the original farm, but because of where it was located near this reservation, this Ute reservation, like they've had everything from crop circles,
a lot of UFO stuff, a lot of UFO. They keep talking about everything you read about Skinwalker Ranch. There's it comes up more with UFOs than it does with Skinwalkers. Funny enough,
which made no goddamn sense to me because I'm like, okay, it's hard enough to find articles on this stuff. And then you've got like a whole show. I was all like tantalized. I'm like, oh, I get to watch this whole thing. Corey, I'll fucking show you on this episode. And then I start watching. I'm like,
it's your episode, buddy. Why do you don't need to show me anything? Tell you what, show me up on my episode.
I'm not goddamn sure right. You just wait. What's on? Have you decided what?
I haven't. I'm percolating between 2.
Oh.
Hopefully I'll decide by the end of this episode. If not, it'll be a secret.
Oh shit. You'll have to let me know eventually.
No, I'll let you. I'll drop it on you, Phil. It'll be like trivia night. You won't know the questions in advance.
Good luck. Joke's on you. I always wing it. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much what I've got.
The Skinwalkers it certainly does not have the same cred or interesting background as the Wendigo does.
No.
But fun fact about the Wendigo, by the way.
What's that?
Do you know? You probably don't know this.
Probably not.
Do you remember Wolverine's first appearance in the comics? Wolverine that got.
Hold on. Why do I
might have stumbled across it if you were Googling Wendigo?
Because it was Canadian. He's Canadian.
He is, yes. Apparently, he was originally supposed to be a mutated Wolverine, not a mutant with. All that stuff. Yeah, they canned that once he got popular. They're like, maybe like.
Wasn't he in the Hulk? Wasn't that the first? It was the
Hulk?
Hulk?
What they were fighting.
A Wendigo. Really? Okay, so he did make his first episode in the Hulk.
Yeah, and it was he showed up in the Hulk. He showed up in Incredible Hulk. I want to say like 100 something. 100. Yeah, I can pull up the exact one. And he was there to kill the Hulk, but they both wind up fighting the Wendigo. And I think that's the Wendigo's first appearance in the comics.
Oh,
and that's the Wendigo. And the Wendigo version they do is really a big white bushy version of the Hulk. Like it's not anything like what you see in mythology. Not emancipated. No, emancipation. Emancipation is the freeing of the slaves. Emanciated.
No. Yes,
that one.
Emancipated to be
emancipated versus the emancipated.
Yeah. And the Wendigo is it's supposed to be that skinny because it's always hungry. I mean,
always hungry. It's not supposed to be a noble beast, right? Once you start strapping big, bulky muscles on it, making it look all Hercules-like, it's no longer this gaunt, terrifying.
Yeah. But there is like these, like you said, like there are people that think it's a cryptid, and there's pictures all over the internet of these weird looking, which they look pretty bogus. Like it looks almost like, it's all Photoshop shit.
Did you find anything about the flesh gates?
No.
All right, flesh gates. Here we go.
What are flesh gates?
So, not to be confused with a fleshlight. You can Google that, Phil.
Fuck. I think I got one.
Fleshgate is a cryptid shapeshifter said to be able to perfectly mimic the voice and appearance of animals and humans, even copy the behavior for a period of time. So this can do this by, stop me if this sounds like a skinwalker, by occupying the victim's body or skin. It's unknown how exactly it acquires the body, but most popular theories state they either eat the innards and wear the skin or simply skin the victim and discard the internal organs. It's difficult to determine the method is used due to the fact that little to no physical evidence is found of a fleshgate's attack, or that they even exist.
I saw one. I saw one once. It was on Men in Black. The bug.
Yes. I know there's been a couple, like, that's where they pull up the face.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is some of the confusions with the flesh gates is that they were skinwalkers. No, they're actually considered something separate. They're not necessarily considered to be evil shamans, which is what skinwalkers are apparently called, although it sounds like the flesh gates are skinwalking.
So it does.
Right. I think another case of where you've got mix of between skinwalkers and wendigos and flesh gates that they think they're all the same, and apparently they're not.
I think every culture has some sort of shape-shifting sort of, things, from werewolves and vampires to.
I was trying to find out where the sucker came from. I can't find any, like, is it culturally relevant? I can't find. Is this just an internet creation, or maybe not an internet creation? Maybe somebody wrote a book
for the flesh. For the flesh, I've never heard of it.
Until I did this, I was like, I have no idea what this is. I'm like, the concept sounds familiar. Hey, I'm gonna wear somebody's skin.
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
It puts the lotion on the skin, or it gets the hose again.
Well, that was one of the things they talked about, how you transform into a werewolf, right? You have a specially treated werewolf hide or wolf hide you put on, and you become a wolf. But you become a wolf, not necessarily a werewolf.
Yeah.
You become, like, not the Lon Chaney werewolf.
Movies have come so far though with werewolves. I love it. Like where their skin actually tears off. What's that one with Del Toro? Oh fuck! I think it's just called Werewolf. Anyway.
There's werewolf. I know there's werewolf in London. There's American Werewolf in London. There's The Howling, where there was a series of those movies. Okay. There was Underworld, and I'm trying to
love Underworld.
Oh, I love Kate Beckinsale, as I said previous episode.
I know you.
Which I know I said that because I watched myself say it, and you flashed up my picture of Kate. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. My picture, as I'm putting Jason Mimosa.
That's right. You brought up your Jason Mimosa. You put up my Kate. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
But the flesh gates are one of those cryptids. It's sort of, and again, they call it a cryptid. So this is where we're dealing with cryptozoology, and it's like, does this thing even really exist? Like, is it?
I've never heard of it, but I mean, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Well, true, but just because you've heard of it doesn't mean that it does exist, as we know from all our other episodes that
no, Bigfoot, I think, could exist.
We don't know it does exist. We don't know it doesn't exist.
I'm just saying.
Sorry.
And UFOs.
I retract my statement. Retract it.
I'm on the fence with UFOs, which means I kind of want to believe, but prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong, folks. Prove me wrong. Yeah. So the flesh gates are just another example of, is this a case of the myth of the Wendigo taking shape? Is it
entirely? Why not? I mean, we steal shit from everywhere all the time.
Trying to find out where stuff comes from. And that's where I think it's really important to do, at least the Wendigo, we know where it comes from. We know it is traditional, native, let's say indigenous Canadian.
And right, yeah, upper northern
anywhere, no, yeah,
it's cold you get to cold weather. Anywhere there's snow,
right. Anywhere there's snow and not a lot of
miserable food. Yeah, miserable weather and tough living. Yep. But yeah, no, and I think that every culture has that. I don't know. They
have something.
They have something. That's right. And we're no different. But things do evolve over time. As maybe you see with the horns for the Wendigo. Well, that's not something, the antlers, that's not something that was traditional.
Now that's a mix of animalism, like the whole concept of this is this isn't a human. No, this is a demonic beast because it's got antlers. And
well, even doing your thumbnail, they all have every Wendigo idea. Oh, excuse me. Has antlers. It's like, what the fuck? It doesn't make
what? Until recently, I did not know they had antlers. So, so full disclosure, my first exposure was that Hulk comic where I'm like, oh, there's a Wendigo. It's like a bear that eats.
Foot? No.
Exactly. It's like a white version of Bigfoot, right?
Yeah, like a yeti.
Yeah, exactly. Like a yeti, like the abominable snowman. Maybe, which again, maybe they're, I don't know, the Himalayan version of the Wendigo or Bigfoot. Who is it?
Well, Bigfoot, I mean, is not supposed to be don't even.
They're not supposed to be an evil spirit. They're not supposed to be an evil spirit.
They're not supposed to be evil. They're supposed to be, I believe if there is a Bigfoot, it's just a primate, a large, deciduous, boreal primate.
But it's still the same idea. Once you start going back culturally, it talks about it as being a spirit, right? Versus a actual.
So Bigfoot, yeah. Yeah, actually, Bigfoot was, and that's, you're into, we're I guess most of the cultures have Sasquatch as a, as their stories and their storytelling and what have you. I mean, you got to remember too, this is it's a, what do you call that? It's a verbal history.
Right? Oral.
It's all the oral history. It's their story. Everything is their story. So
you would have the shamans who would be the ones who would pass down
or the
knowledge,
and the elders would collect. So
exactly.
But as times change and as people change, I would think their stories change too. But that's just me. I don't know.
It evolves. I mean, you see this with the interwebs, just the stuff we covered. Look at the idea of the Bermuda Triangle. That's 1950s, and we're 70 years later. Yeah,
you barely hear the Bermuda. I mean, nobody really talks about it now. I mean,
no, but it still is a thing.
Which is why our views are very small, I think, on that one. But my bad.
Atlantis just got up today, folks. So
yeah, I'm already getting some movement there. I think too that the more we do, I want to get into a little more paranormal. I think that's
I like the paranormal, which is funny enough. That's what I'm banding around for I haven't made my decision yet. We're not at the end.
No. Okay. Well, I'm excited.
We're not at the end. Once we get to the end, I'll have made my decision. I'll probably put it out there and then we can decide.
This is
torn. I'm torn between two, and I might need your input. Because you need to be able to research this.
I'll see which one I get excited about.
But let's come back to let's come back to summarize. What is the Wendigo?
To me, I think it's figurative. I think that it's a fake this is me personally. I think this is sort of a, we tell a story to promote our children, and a lot of times they're not nice stories, to make
particularly
sure
at the era, right? This is like Grimm's fairy tales, which FYI, you wouldn't see them being made into Disney movies.
Like the Billy Goat's Gruff. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was terrified of that story. I remember my old man had this book, and the troll under the bridge, and it fucking eats the goats. It's like, I was scared of bridges forever. Now I don't know if
a town called Redbridge. Jesus,
right?
Which, by the way, I never saw a bridge. Like might be that one over 60. Why was it called Redbridge?
I don't know. Who knows? Some drunk dude.
If you know out there in
why was Redbridge called Red Bridge?
Ontario. I wonder if there's that Wikipedia entry for Redbridge.
I don't know. Maybe. If not, we could add one.
There we go.
There. But I think that it's more interpretive of like a lot of stories, they're meant to, kind of guide you. Don't eat people. Don't be greedy.
Enforce taboos, right?
Don't take more than you need. Otherwise, you may become the Wendigo, and then, the fiddlers will come and
Joe and Jack and Joe come in and whack your head off, choke you out with some rope,
right? There's obviously people that take things too far, like any religion or anybody, but I think that's it. The Skinwalkers, though, I don't know. That one's a tough one. I think that's more like, hey, I'm gonna fucking scare the shit out of other people by saying we have Skinwalkers who are evil tribespeople and we'll put a curse on you. I don't know. That's possible. Like they would curse other tribes.
Right? Well, the idea that, and again, I think it has more to do with that. Use your power responsibly, otherwise you're this jerk, right? Yeah, so if you're a shaman, right. It's like I'll use the Jedi versus Sith Lord kind of Jedi Knight versus Sith Lord mentality, right? Stay away from the dark side of the Force.
That's right.
Because it's not a good place.
If you have to choose good.
Yeah, choose good, because that's your role in society. The people who do this are evil D-bags. Don't be evil D-bags. Because look, they turn into wolves.
Or worse,
wouldn't want to turn into a wolf.
Jesus. Think of all the spraying you have to do as a coyote.
That's right. Marking. Coyotes don't look like they have a great life, and I don't think they have awful lot.
I saw one the other day. I've never seen one up this far north.
I got notified at work that there was one on. I'm not at work because I'm working remotely, but apparently an alert went out saying there was a coyote on the property.
So they're typically more southern, and we don't see a lot up here.
Yeah, but we are more southern. In Ottawa, we're more southern.
You're quite a bit more, but I saw one first time. And
was it a Skinwalker?
Oh no, but it was skinny. Like they always look so fucking sick. And it was way too small to be a wolf. And but really skinny. I don't think it was doing well. But
I think they're all like that. I've never seen a well-fed all coyotes look very lean.
First one I've ever seen. And
everyone I've seen is always very lean, and that's how you know they're not wolves. That and the fact that they're
alone.
You're pretty sure. Well, they're often alone. Yes,
they're often alone. Yeah, they're solitary hunters. But what do you think of the Wendigo? Where do you?
I like the idea of this myth and legend. Again, are we dealing with something that has become twisted, corrupted? Maybe not twisted, corrupt. That's the wrong word. Evolve over time. Again, we got the idea of the Wendigo psychosis, right? So if you were a person who was eating human flesh and deranged, your hygiene probably sucks. So there's the smell. You're probably not necessarily getting a lot of good nutrients. I mean, there's no doubt a lot of crazy stuff going on with you, and you're, predatory.
Rabies.
Right now, you're not 15 feet tall, so I don't know where that comes from, and you don't have the head of a deer. But we already talked about that. That's a European condition.
Yeah, it's sort of
But I do like the idea of it being an enforcement of cultural taboos. Like this is a cautionary tale, right? Don't do this, or Krampus will get you.
Good old Krampus.
Old Krampus.
He'll take you away.
And the Skinwalker again. Yeah. I can see evil shamans. Makes sense.
I really would have liked to hear from perhaps someone who was indigenous to talk about, because I bet you, and you would also see, I bet you variations from different areas. 2%? What?
2%. I used to be 3% Jewish, but then they updated my DNA results.
You're 2% indigenous?
I am. So get the hell off my land. Thank you. You saw John and Mom.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you look at my mother and my little brother and say, maybe not me.
No.
I'm like Kevin Costner. I'm like Kevin Costner indigenous. Like, it's like, okay, well, maybe he is indigenous. I don't know. Does Kevin Costner have any native blood?
Not a clue.
Apparently, is it Keanu? So I know Chuck Norris does. Chuck Norris is Navajo, I believe.
Is he?
I believe I believe. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, we can all believe it, but I don't know if it's true.
That's right. True. Like the legend of the Wendigo, we can believe it, but it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah. So what are we doing next week? God damn.
All right. So I'm torn between two. Since we were talking about So when you brought up Wendigos and Skinwalkers, I was like, and the more research I had done on them, I'm like, okay, we either go with vampires or witchcraft. No, I don't want to touch werewolves. I do not. The werewolf, like we touched on Wendigos. Between Wendigos and Skinwalkers, we're kind of like that's.
Well, vampires, isn't that like? I don't know.
I'm not talking Twilight, buddy. Okay, but and I'm not saying witches. I'm talking
Robert Patterson kind of Twilight.
That's right. Who ironically is now the new Batman. Which
way can't do any worse. No,
Ben Affleck did a good job. Ben Affleck as the burned out, brute Batman. He did a great job.
Yeah, I
enjoyed him as Batman. I didn't enjoy the movies he was in, but I thought his portrayal of Batman was good.
Yeah,
just like I thought Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman was good.
Oh, I liked his portrayal of Superman. I think I like all of them. Cyborg's a little weird. I don't know.
Did you see the extended edition, like the
Snyder cut yet?
So if you watch the Snyder cut,
here it's long.
It is 4 hours. Yes.
Oh God, I don't know.
Apparently, they cut out in the normal version, like everything that made Cyborg interesting, they had cut out. So he's way more interesting in the Snyder cut than he is in the.
Good, because he was sort of like, I don't want to be here.
That's right. Like all my scenes have been cut.
Yeah, I'm like Justice League, whatever. I'm the tall, dark, and handsome kind of robot dude.
So, vampires or witchcraft? What do you think?
Oh, they're both really interesting.
What would you be interested in learning more about?
I don't really know a lot about it either. So, but I like vampires. I like
vampires. It is then, buddy. We'll touch vampires. We'll save witchcraft for one. We'll put that in our pocket because vampires, and I'm not talking just the Dracula stuff, right? Because that's back to the whole somebody wrote a book. It's the other stuff about vampire.
Yeah. There's a whole subculture of people that think they're vampires and drink blood. Fucking
I've got a story about that.
God damn. Well, on that note,
yes.
Thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. Stay with us. We're fun. We're very nice people.
People out there will watch other people making sandwiches. This is so much more interesting. People making. You may even learn through us
one thing while you watch it. One thing, even it's worthwhile.
Like the wee chug. Bet you didn't know that.
Or the fleshlight. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the OC. I'm Phil. This is my co-host Corey, and we will see you next week. And we will talk about vampires. Good night.